Live from the Brian Gunzel Studios, this is the Locked Up Sports New York Mets pregame show. Mets baseball on Locked Up Sports starts now.
Yo, what's up, everybody? Bob Walters, New York Mets pregame show. This is it, folks. It comes down to 3 games, a weekend in Miami, and the Mets season on the line. And listen, I don't know how it's going to go. I don't know how this weekend's going to work out. The Marlins have always been a thorn in the Mets' side in situations like this. But, 2007, 2008 does not really affect 2025. Only 2025 Mets can affect the 2025 season and the outcome. And listen, they've stretched this thing as far as it can go. And they have 3 games left. They have a 1-game lead. They have the inside track to get this thing. But the fact that they don't hold tiebreakers, it does really affect it. And it does, kind of put more pressure on tonight's game. And if the Mets, and we're going to show you in a second, all their clinching possibilities and how they do it, and what the Reds need to do and what the Diamondbacks need to do. The Diamondbacks have really put themselves really on the outside looking in a tough spot, being the 2 games back, because they really need the Mets and the Reds to just completely fall apart. And it's not to say that that's impossible to happen. That could very well happen. None of these 3 teams have been able to step up and grab this thing and take it by the horns and say, we're taking this wild card. No one's doing it. They're all keeping each other in it, right? They're inconsistent. And what it is it's what I've been telling you now for 3 weeks or 4 weeks is none of them are really that good. The third wild card is not supposed to be a really good team. It's supposed to be 500, a bunch of teams kind of right around it that can get into it in the last couple weeks. They're not great teams. The Reds are in the bottom third. Now, here's the discrepancy, and here's why it's worse for the Mets than it is for Arizona and for Cincinnati. And it's the payroll, right? So the Mets have obviously the highest payroll, one of the highest payrolls in all of sports history. They added Soto, they added pieces, and it comes down to what are they relying on? They're relying on 3 pitchers who were in the minor leagues making a couple $100,000 right now for the first time in their life, making 6 figures. So everything that they spent on Soto and all the things that they went out and got at the trade deadline and everything that they put into this season, and it boils down to 3 kids making a couple $100,000 a piece. And that's going to really decide whether the Mets go to the playoffs or whether they don't. And now tonight, let's give you I'm going to give you the situations here, what they need to do to clinch, what the Reds need to do, and everything. So here it is right here. So if the Mets go, obviously the Mets have the lead. They have a 1-game lead. It's really a half-game lead over the Reds because they can't tie. So if the Reds catch them and tie, it's over. They go. Arizona, the Mets hold no tiebreakers. Mets need to beat Arizona and Cincinnati by a game. Now, if the Mets go 3-0 and they sweep the Marlins this weekend, obviously they're in. D-backs eliminated, a Reds eliminated. If the Mets go 2-1, and then the Reds need to go 2-1 or worse. So then the Reds need to sweep. That's what it is. If the Mets can take 2 out of 3 from the Marlins, the Reds need to sweep their series. If the Mets lose 2 of 3 to the Marlins, then the Reds just need to win 2 of 3, and they'll get in. And like I said, Arizona is a real long shot here. They really put themselves in a bad spot with the way they were. Now, if the Mets get swept, obviously they just need both teams to get swept. And if all 3 teams get swept this series this weekend, then I don't think any of them should get to go. So it's the Mets. This is what's on. This is where we're at, folks. This is where we're at. Mets dug themselves their own hole. So you can't feel bad for them. They have been up. They've been down. It's been a disaster for most of the last 3 or 4 months. This team is better than both of the Reds and the Diamondbacks. They're a better baseball team. Hands down, it's not even a question. Reds are in the bottom third payroll. Mets are in the Mets are the top payroll ever. And the D-backs got rid of a ton of players at the trade deadline. This is where the Mets are. So even if they make it and they go out to LA and they lose two or three and they're out, I think it's not going to be good there either. I think for the Mets to justify this season at all, they need to make it. They need to win this weekend, make it to the playoffs, because the wild card 2 out of 3 series, it's a new thing. Is it really the playoffs, or is it the play-in game from the NCAA tournament that gets played on Thursday and Friday night? The team's not in the brackets. They're not. It doesn't really count. Is that what this is? It kind of might be. It kind of might be, right? Because you're playing a 2 or 3 series. It doesn't shift stadium to stadium. It's all in one stadium. Like if they play the Dodgers, for instance, you're going out to Chavez Ravine in LA and you're playing a 3-game series in LA. So I don't, is it really playoffs, or is it playoffs adjacent, as Don LaGreca would say? I don't know. But I'll tell you what, the Mets need to win this, and then they need to beat the Dodgers. And if they can beat the Dodgers and they can get to the division series, then it's house money. Then you could say, okay, we did okay, right? In this season, we did okay. But there's a long way before that happens. Both teams are throwing. Obviously, the Mets are throwing. They're throwing Sproat tonight. They're throwing Clay Holmes tomorrow. I believe. I didn't hear because I was at work all day. I would imagine it's a Clay Holmes, Manaea, piggyback, starter game. I'm okay with that. It's 2 for 2 so far, as far as quality starts go in the when they've done that. 2 for 2. They did it right after or right before the All-Star break, and they did it, last week, right? It's okay. I can live with that. Then on the Sunday, it's Nolan McLean going on short rest. After just a good start yesterday, 11 strikeouts. He impresses every time he gets out there. Jonah Tong has struggled a bit. We knew he was going to struggle, right? He was the youngest of the 3 coming up. He only spent a blink of an eye in AAA, which doesn't happen. I mean, the players go into AAA, they spend the whole year there because that's the final. You're putting on the final polish to get to the big leagues. Jonah Tong came up to AAA from AA. And he just basically was like 3 or 4 starts. He was dominating, and they brought him up. He didn't face any adversity down there. I think that's why he's struggling a little bit here. And it's still, even with his struggles, he's still pitching. He's pitching excellent for that situation that he's in. He's pitching excellent. Now you don't want it with the season on the line. Sproat is a little bit older. He's a little more mature. He has pitched for a full season in AAA. He's been a hit or miss. He hasn't been McLean, but I don't think anybody really is McLean. McLean is looking like one of those generational pitchers. He's just come out there, and every time he takes the mound, every time he takes the ball, it's better than the last time, and every time before it has just been fantastic and unbelievable. He is an ace, a superstar in the making. Is Nolan McLean, and I see the sky's the limit for him. But right now, it's not about that. It's not about his future. It's about getting to the postseason. And it's about the Mets really just doing enough to get in, but then they're going to also need to get out of that first series. And the Dodgers, it's not going to be easy with the Dodgers. It's really not. Now, here's tonight's pitching matchup. Brandon Sproat, like we said, against Sandy Alcantara. Alcantara has given the Mets fits every time he goes out there. The Marlins have set this thing up. So it's their 3 best pitchers going. The Marlins have had a good season. They were just eliminated from the playoffs like 3 days ago. If you would have told anybody in baseball that the Marlins would be still mathematically alive on September 22nd, they would have thought you were crazy. A bunch of no-name kids. They got it. They started playing well, and they just rode it really well. They've won 9 out of 10 games coming into this tonight. Sandy Alcantara coming off of the Tommy John. Is he fully back? I think he's fully back. right? He's had let me just put my glasses. Where's my glasses? There they are. He's had 30 starts. He's 10-12. Forget about the record. Throw the record out. He's got a 5.48 ERA. Not great. But when you look at the whip, it's 1.28. He's striking out hitters. He's pitching well, and he always steps up. And he's an all-star. He's one of the top pitchers in the game, a top, maybe 20 pitcher in the game. And he's going to show up tonight, and he's going to put out a good performance. You could take that to the bank. Now, the question is, how long does Mendoza go with somebody like Sproat, who this is the biggest game of his life? Season's on the line. The Mets tonight is the biggest of the three, I think, for the Mets, because they got to get this thing. You could really give yourself a boost and put the odds squarely in your favor if you could get a win tonight combined with a Reds loss. And you'll just be, you could take a deep breath and feel good about the next 2 days. Now, you lose tonight and the Reds win, all bets are off. All bets are off. Now you're going into tomorrow. You're tied. You got Clay Holmes, Manaea. They haven't been reliable. Who knows how they lost tonight? The defense probably didn't play well if they lose tonight. Then all bets are off. If the Mets can just win tonight, it'll really set the tone for the weekend. And I think it'll give them a good chance to clinch this thing tomorrow. But let's not get ahead of ourselves, right? Brandon Sproat on the mound, not 0-1. He's still this guy with our season on the line. Season on the line, game 160. And we got Brandon Sproat, a guy who has never won a major league game, a guy who has the potential, the upside is the sky's the limit. It's only his fourth appearance in a major league game on a major league mound, and he's got the weight of the world on him in New York City against a team that has done this to the Mets on multiple occasions. 2007, 2008. One of these games, they went out there and they scored 8 runs in the first inning against Tom Glavine, a Hall of Famer. Now, not the same kids. These guys, the guys on this team, on this ball team, were in diapers when that happened. But Mets fans remember it, and they remember it not so fondly. They shut down Shea Stadium. Sandy Alcantara, Brandon Sproat. Sproat, now if you look, his last 3 games was only 3 games. He went 4 innings, 6 innings, 4 innings, 6 innings, 6 innings. Last game against Washington, only 4 innings, gave up 4 hits, 4 runs. Wasn't great, but wasn't terrible. Kept them in the game. The Mets, I think they won that game. I'm not positive, but I believe they did. 2, he walked 2. His control is going to be an issue. It's going to be very important with the control. You got to get the control. You got to throw strikes. Get strike 1. That's going to be very important. And let's see if they can get with the bullpen. Now, let's get quickly before we got to go here as the game's about to come on air. Don't forget, it's on Channel 11 tonight. It's not on SNY, so if you're looking around, just remember, Channel 11. It's on the broadcast TV. Here's tonight's New York Mets starting lineup, game 160 against the Marlins. Lindor leading off. Love to get a Lindor home run, right? Leading off. You'd love to. And it's kind of his thing. Did it last week. We'll see if we can get that. Soto, Nimmo, Alonso. That's your top 4. Alonso in the cleanup spot, swapped with Nimmo. McNeil at second, 5th, Beatty at 3rd, 6th. Alvarez behind the plate hitting 7th. Now here's the one that everyone, the big controversy, Cedric Mullins in the game, starting over Tyrone Taylor. I like Taylor. I think Taylor's played great. He threw the guy out at the plate. He got a big time hit in the late innings to extend the Mets lead to 8-2, but it ended up being, it got a lot closer after the 3-run home run that they gave up. So huge hit for Tyrone Taylor. He's a 1,000 times better defender than anybody else they have. I would play Tyrone Taylor, and I've been telling them that. I've been saying this for a while. You can be okay with not a great hitting center fielder in this lineup. You got power at both corner outfields. That's where your power needs to come from. You got power at both corner outfields. You got power behind the plate with the catcher, and you got power at first base. You can be okay and get by. If those are kind of working the way they're supposed to, you can get by with a light-hitting center fielder if he has a glove like Tyrone Taylor, because the Mets have seen now, just in the past week, what a bad center fielder can do to a team, and it could cost you a game. And in this case, in this weekend, it cost you a game, it could cost you the season. And then you're going to be sitting there kicking yourself all winter. Tyrone Taylor is got some hits last game. His bat's got some hits in it. He's going to make the play. Now, I wouldn't be surprised if he's out there, in the later innings for defensive purposes. But what upside does Mullins even bring to this team? He's done nothing. Every time he's out there, he's either butchering a fly ball, or he's misplaying one off the wall, or he's striking out 3 times, can't get a hit to save his life, swinging at bad pitches. Now, here's what, and I'm going to tell you what it was. Because here is what Mendoza sees and why he's putting in him, Mullins, over somebody like Tyrone Taylor, who had a great game. It is what it is. And here it is right here. Right here. Cedric Mullins against Sandy Alcantara in his career. 4 for 9, 2 homers, 3 ribbies, and only 9 plate appearances. So he's just playing the numbers here. Now, I don't know if I'd play the numbers here because that's a different Cedric Mullins. We didn't get the Cedric Mullins that we thought we were getting. We didn't get the Cedric Mullins that has played in the past, couple years. A decent center fielder, a power hitter, but will get you some hits. No. That's not the Cedric Mullins I've seen play for the Mets. That's not the Cedric Mullins they got. Now, if this Cedric Mullins right here on the screen can come up and get some big hits tonight and go forward, the one that went 4 for 9 with 2 homers, 3 RBIs, and only 9 plate appearances, well, then I'll go and I'll say I was wrong and Mendoza did the right thing. But if he doesn't and they end up losing and he makes a bad play in center field and he goes 0 for 4 with 3 strikeouts, I'm going to get right on here and I'm going to scream and yell because Tyrone Taylor, you can make it with this lineup. You can have a light hitting center fielder. You can. It's okay. But let's listen. It's not my call. It's not your call. He's in the game. So let's see if he can get some hits. Let's see if Sandy can, strike iron here. Strike while the iron's hot. Does that statement even make sense? I don't think it does. Not that contest. Strike while the iron's hot. But either way, game on. 3 games left. 1 game lead for the Mets. It all comes down to this. It's going to be fun. It's going to be a lot of fun weekend. It might end in disaster, as they have in the past for us. It might end in a playoff berth. Either way, it's the final 3 games, the final weekend of the baseball season. Enjoy it because the football season is tanking already. Giants and Jets might both be out of playoff contention before the baseball regular season is over. So there's nothing really to look forward to. The Knicks are still a little while away. It's the Mets. It's the Marlins. It's Brandon Sproat against against Sandy Alcantara from Miami. Game number 160. Mets with a 1-game lead. 3 to play. From the Brian Gunzel Studios. Enjoy the game, everybody. I'm Bob Walters. See ya.